Anyway, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is looking to speed up the debate on that just released bipartisan infrastructure package. It's now known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The proposal could be voted on as early as the end of the week. And while tax hikes were left out of this bill, it is possible that the cryptocurrency industry could still get hit. Joining us right now is Ohio Senator Rob Portman. He played a leading role in reaching the bipartisan deal, and he wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last week titled An Infrastructure Bill That Works. Senator, first of all, congratulations on getting to this point. There had been a lot of doubters about whether you all could actually get a deal that you could get enough people to agree on. So congratulations on that. But what do you think happens next?
Thanks, Becky. Well, we'll have more amendments, which is great. We're encouraging members of both sides of the aisle to come forward and let's debate the issues. We had some amendments last night. We have some more scheduled this morning. And hopefully by the end of the week, we can have plenty of amendments and have a vote on this. It's great for the country, Becky. This is about fixing up our infrastructure, which has fallen behind. Every economic analysis we've seen says the same thing, which is if we do this over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to help our economy in significant ways because it'll make the economy more efficient, makes us more productive as a country, helps our economic growth. Every president in modern times has tried to do this, as you know, including Donald Trump, who had a $1.5 trillion package. Ours is $550 billion, so it's not quite as ambitious as his was, but he deserves credit for stirring up the debate on the Republican side and getting people to think about the importance of infrastructure. And my hope is we can get this done on a bipartisan basis.
Mitch McConnell said that every senator wants to kind of get their hands on this and see what it's going to mean for their state, which makes me wonder, are most of the amendments that are coming things that are going to make sure that every senator has some sort of pet project in their state?
No, there aren't earmarks in this, and I think that was very important. But I do think a lot of members, are interested in it, and they have specific issues. One that I think will come up today as an example is giving states and localities the ability to use their COVID funds for infrastructure. Right now they can use it for broadband and water infrastructure, but not for roads and bridges, as an example. And my state of Ohio would like to do that. We weren't able to get that done in the bipartisan package because the White House and some Democrats were objecting to doing that. But I think it's a good idea, as an example. So I think there are going to be some constructive amendments. There were last night. We accepted a couple of them. So my hope is we'll be able to move forward. This is, as you know, Becky, a response to President Biden putting out a $2.65 trillion infrastructure plan that had a lot more than core infrastructure in it and was paid for with a huge tax increase. In fact, the biggest tax increase in American history. It would have been primarily on our competitiveness. So instead we said, let's pull out just the core infrastructure. That's $550 billion of it. And then let's not do it with taxes. Let's use other ways to pay for it. And that's where we are right now.
Hey, Rob, there was a lot of concern after Lindsey Graham said that he came down with COVID, tested positive for it, even after he'd been vaccinated, especially because he was on Senator Manchin's houseboat over the weekend. And I think a lot of senators were there. Were you there for that?
I was invited, but but I couldn't go. Lucky for me, I guess. But no, I was working on the bipartisan package, trying to finalize it, so I was not there. But I did call Senator Graham yesterday. My sense is he's doing fine, and his symptoms were not severe. But yeah, I think there were a number of members there. A number were tested. I got tested yesterday too, because Senator Graham's a friend, and I'd been around him for the past week some. So I came back negative. I think other members did too. But anyway, we wish Lindsey the best.
Well, I can't believe you didn't go. So you were washing your hair that night, Senator? There was so the infrastructure.
I don't have much hair left to wash, Joe.
The infrastructure pay for it. So that includes $250 plus billion for unspent COVID funds that were never paid for in the first place. They were deficit spending. So now you're going to use those. So you call that paid for?
Well, to the extent we're pulling back money that we've already appropriated for something else, yeah, I mean,
it wasn't paid for.
If it's not pulled back for this purpose,
right? No, I understand.
If it's not pulled back for this purpose, it'll be paid for. It'll be paid for, by COVID.
Yeah, it was already.
That's not the.
I know, but and then
well, this is money. This is money that we appropriated, but has not been spent yet.
Right.
That's the point. But Joe, that's actually a relatively good pay for compared to some of them, to be honest with you. But,
right. I know, and I'm thinking you're saying no earmarks, but then West Virginia Senator, there's $1 billion in the bill that his wife co-chairs the Appalachian Regional Commission, and I don't know, $1 billion gets. Everybody's got something in this. When you look at it, doesn't it?
Well, that's not an earmark. That's not an earmark. That's for the Appalachian Highway System. Goes through 13 different states. Believe me, we looked into that one just to be sure it wasn't. But no, that goes to 13 states. It's never been carried as an earmark.
It quacks like a duck. And it
goes. It's for the completion of the Appalachian Highway System that goes from Mississippi to New York. That's what we learned about that. So, and we ran it through the committee, and it's a formula program. So you apply and you get a grant. But
the New York Post stole my Trojan horse. 10 reasons to fight this $1 trillion Trojan horse, and it's a it's a New York Post.
$550 billion.
Yeah, I know.
They only exceeded it by about 50%.
Just greases the skids to that next 3.5.
No, just the opposite. Just the opposite. Joe, what would have happened, as you know, is the $2.65 trillion one with huge increases in taxes, including, by the way, getting rid of all the competitiveness stuff we did in 2017 to make our companies more competitive globally. That would have been done by reconciliation. So you would have had two things. One, about twice as much infrastructure done by reconciliation with no Republican input, and you would have had, obviously, big increases in taxes. And even the Democrats on our group, who are not wild about taxes and therefore willing to do this with us, some of them, including Senator Manchin, who said he could support somewhat higher taxes on the business side, which was in that first package. So there's no question in my mind that if we don't get this done, it's going to be put in reconciliation at higher numbers. So this is a way to move forward. And I think we're able to do it in part because President Biden does want to have a bipartisan success. So do a lot of Republicans. And this is one area where we've always been bipartisan. There's never been a partisan issue to help fix up our roads and bridges and our rail tracks and our ports, and our broadband is very bipartisan, because we had so many areas of the country, including in eastern Ohio and not too far from where you grew up, where people just don't have access to Wi-Fi, high speed or low speed. So that's what this is about. And I think that's important because that's the digital infrastructure of the future.
Senator, let's talk a little bit about what happens next, because even if this is passed, even if all the amendments go through, you vote on it, it looks like you do have the votes in the Senate for this. The House Speaker has said that she's not going to pick this up unless and until the bigger portion of the other infrastructure, the soft infrastructure that the Democrats want to pass, is taken care of first. What does that mean?
Well, it runs counter to everything that we've been talking about, including commitments from the White House and President Biden. These are totally separate packages. They are running on totally separate tracks. And if we can pass this in the Senate here in the next week, which I believe we can, we got a lot of support for it, then we hope the House will take it up immediately. And my hope is the White House will help us ensure that that happens. This is good for the country. It's bipartisan. It's something that everybody is committed to, so it shouldn't get caught up in the politics of reconciliation.
I know you're not the whip who's in charge of looking for Democratic votes for what would happen with that secondary package, but you are close to Senator Manchin. You know him well. You've spent a lot of time with him. Do you think that Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema are going to hold out and say that they won't go along with that?
Well, that's up to them. I think in terms of what you're talking about in the House, Becky, you raise a really good point, which is there are House Democrats who support this bipartisan infrastructure package. In fact, there are 29 of them in what's called the Problem Solvers Caucus, 29 Democrats, 29 Republicans, and they've said they support our package. So, as you know, the Speaker's only got a 4 or 5 vote margin. So I think she's also got to listen to those members on the Democratic side who are going to say, you know what, we like this infrastructure package. We may not be wild about the other one. Let's go ahead and get this done.
She's only got a 3-vote margin, I think it is, at this point after that last election from last week. But she also has progressives on the far left who are saying that they won't go along with this because they think it will, unless they get the promises of the secondary one, which has the packages that they would really like to see happen, that they won't vote for this without it.
Well, again, that's exactly counter to what President Biden has said. These are on separate tracks. One does not relate to the other. He supports both of them, as you know. I support the infrastructure package strongly. I do not support the $3.5 trillion reconciliation package, and I don't support it because it's terrible for the country. It'll raise taxes at a time when our economy is getting on its feet. It'll add more to inflation, which is what the infrastructure package does not do. It's actually adding to the supply side of the economy, as you know, because it's about long-term spending for capital assets. It's actually counter-inflationary. But the $3.5 trillion one is really a bad idea, both in terms of the spending and the taxes. And so they're on separate tracks. and we ought to treat them separately. And American people deserve that, and deserve the treatment to be done in a very, separate way as we're doing here in the Senate. We're voting on the infrastructure package now. If Senator Schumer and others want to bring up the $3.5 trillion package next, they have the right to do that. But it doesn't mean that they're connected in any way. In fact, most of us on the Republican side, I think, share the same belief, which is that we kind of like this one and we don't like that one at all.
Well, Senator Portman, it was something a lot of people have been trying to do for a very long time. So congratulations on getting this far with it. We appreciate the update, and we will talk to you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Joe.
You.
Thanks, Andrew. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
I'm glad you can't see my skinny jeans under the